the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pileski dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys. Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pileski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20 to Williams, still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Silverstone, Interlagos, and Watkins Glen, 3 venues that are a major part of Formula One history. Today, the Glen brings back the historic Lotus 79, which actually raced here in 78. But those drivers dealt with the fear of losing more than just a bit of iRating if something went wrong. In sim racing, the bravery can be greater, though the sense of pressure and drama is no less. This means we could wind up seeing some wickedly gutsy moves. We'll see who's willing to put it all out there as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, I'm told F1 weekends here were more like a giant party. Think we'll get that kind of atmosphere here today?
Joe, we used to hang out in a little place called Bog, a popular hangout for people who would like to maybe sometimes stone and torch a few cars, motorbikes, and even a Greyhound bus that got stuck there in the bog once a long time ago. But it was certainly a place of hijinks and revelry for all of us who used to like to do that. But anyway, this circuit, 11 turns, 3.4 miles here. We have no boot, not no boot. We have no bus stop today. We're going to be blazing into the carousel at full speed, folks, in the Lotus 79. But the best way to really get an idea what that looks like is to hop on board the GSRC Lotus 79 for a trip around Watkins Glen Raceway.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Watkins Glen. Coming down to turn 1, this is an excellent place to pass, but it's also super easy to overshoot. It's downhill as you're braking, so the issue gets compounded even if you're only slightly past your mark. Climbing back up the hill, the draft in the Lotus is going to leave a huge hole in the air. That means you'll see drivers pulling someone in from a long ways back. There's no lifting all the way through these S's, and since this layout skips the bus stop, you don't touch the brakes until the carousel. That means a lot of swapping positions will be taking place down this backstretch. Best to pick your line early and make your intentions clear. For the banked carousel, it's a very fast entry, so the brave drivers will really reap the benefits if they can be consistent. With the high speeds, little incidents will become big ones in a hurry. After that, switch sides quick and set up for the chute. This is a corner where being able to late apex tends to be a better line, but it's tricky to get just right. After that, we come to the lowest part of the circuit at the toe of the boot. This is a spot where you might see drivers try to overtake, but if you can get a better launch off the corner than your opponent, it's very possible to get the spot back. This climb is incredibly steep, so momentum is your friend. And the heel of the boot is another place where passing isn't uncommon, so you'll get a good chance to outbrake your opponent. Watch out for the inside curbs because some of the taller ones will upset the car very badly. By now, we're getting back to the main part of the circuit. The crest and off-camber nature of turn 9 makes it tricky enough, but on-throttle oversteer on turn exit just complicates things further, as Amjad shows here. Indianapolis has some banking, but even with all the downforce of the Lotus, it's not quite flat out. Finally, we hit the last turn, which has the barrier right at the edge of the track. Treat it more like a street course to save the car. Hopefully, you've hit all your marks and have now finished a lap around Watkins Glen.
You see a lap around in the Lotus 79, but Let's take a lap around the points first before we get down to the action on the track, just to get you up to speed on where things are going so far in this season. Prix is leading. That's not too much of a surprise. He tends to win a lot of championships here, but Fernandez is back and he is pressuring him. But really, the close fight is for second here early in the season. Look at between Fernandez and Wood. There is only 1 point separating them. Steve Bycroft could be someone to watch out for. He is sitting in fourth, and he is apparently very strong here this week at this track. Brandon Hawken comes in and shows himself on the top 5, joining up 1 position. Sean, what about the team's championship? How's that sitting?
All right, let's look at those here real quick. Equip Renault, Elf is Frisch and Herner sitting on top with 59 points here early. Albalade Williams Racing, Steve Bycroft, Kendrick Taylor. I'll tell you what, look out for that team to maybe gain some points today. Again, Bycroft strong here at the Glen. In second right now, Team Essex Lotus. Sergio Fernandez, Robert Simpkins, just 8 points behind that. Obviously, that battle close with second. Fourth there for the Marlboro team, McLaren. Suarez and Sarles have come up the list. That's Steve Sarles, actually, there in fourth. But the team's championship, exciting. And maybe we should look at the details of the event for those that are joining us for the first time, Joe.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we are in round 3. Now, there are drop weeks involved. So even if you've had bad races all the way up to here and have a bad one today, you could still be in the championship at the end of things. But that's only 4 for the drivers. You get 2 for the teams. Today's race is going to be 28 laps, and as they did in the old F1, there is no expected stops for fuel in these cars, and in fact, no expected stop for tires even. Basically, you're going from straight start to finish unless something goes very wrong. They have an incident cap of 17, and the points that they accrue and the championship that we showed you are based on the official iRating points, which, Sean, are done by the strength of field, the iRating of the drivers. And, well, we got a split. This is looking like it is stacked out here today.
Stacked indeed. Strength of field just north of 4,000. You got to be pretty good to get to that level. And a lot of familiar names in the field. Some that we see in other series that we cover here on GSRC. Adam Blocker being one of them from Lionheart IndyCar series. And boy, has he been on a tear over there. So some hot shoes. Rob Olenek over and racing with us today from Camel and Lotus 49. So, yeah, a very sorted field. Stefan Schlocker's here, GSRC commentator. Of course, the Preacher is here. And whereas his qualifying effort right now, maybe not on point, he'll be a factor in this race. He finished second in the last one a couple hours ago. So, but Joe, make no mistake, this is going to be a bit of an enduro today. 28 laps around here, not easy. There was a lot of attrition in that race a couple of hours ago, and I feel like maybe some drivers just got a little worn out in this car going around here. It's awful fast. You've really got to be on point with your entry and your exits on these turns. It's a monster. The track is going to be hot. We haven't talked about the weather too much yet. We talked about it in the pre-race, but track already up to 105 degrees here under mostly cloudy skies. Well, mostly cloudy, yes, but the sun seems to keep peeking through.
And we've been watching qualifying as Steve Bycroft is your provisional pole sitter. We saw if Blocker could improve, and he did not on that second lap. Bycroft did by 2/10, so he extends the gap back to the second place Adam Frazier currently. And Frazier's second lap, though an improvement, only cuts it down to 1/10. Gernot Frische is currently sitting in third and actually only coming past the inner loop right now. So he's got a ways to go before he completes this second lap. We do have a little bit of help down in the pits, and even though we don't expect pit stops today, John Ambrose has been out wheeling in this car, and with him having experience setting up real cars. John, it sounds like it's a little bit bumpy on the track. What do you think that's going to do to the setup and how the drivers are going to try and get this thing ready?
Yeah, the bumpy is probably an understatement. I've heard real drivers literally call this thing, it's like driving down the stairs in a car. And that's probably why we saw the attrition in that earlier race. This car, this track, first of all, this track is just famed for excellence and a good show to begin with. Top it off with this car. We're going to see some exciting racing. Look for these guys, though. I mean, this car has a serious mechanical grip issue with the front tires, so they're going to be putting a lot of wheel in these corners, and they've got to ease out of that wheel coming out of the corners, or they're going to snap loose. So that'll be a concern for today and for this entire field.
And just as you finish there, Gernot Friesche finishes his second lap and moves himself up onto the front row. Sean, you were watching him and said that he didn't have any pace for Bycroft. Wonder if he can change that today, because there's only 2 100ths between them.
Well, I wished I'd have seen the start of that race, and I almost wonder, Steve didn't open that gap immensely over the length of the 28-lap race. He pretty much kept it at just under 6 seconds. Gernot had pace through the latter half of the race, but we'll see here on the start. Those two looking like they're going to get to start on the front row, but let's not discount anybody else in this field. Juha Norolampi's here now, apparently not been able to get down a qualifying lap, so he's going to be starting from the back. That will be a tough ask here at the Glen. But you know what? Getting up through the S's and down that straightaway into the carousel should provide some great drafting opportunities today. So there really, really should be an opportunity to pick up great spots and maybe cut your way through the field. But again, Bycroft was just so fast in that last race. If he gets off to a great start, he's going to be an awful hard to catch. But here we go to the grid, Joe.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, Bycroft on your pole with Gernot Friesche in second place. Adam Frazier will start on the inside of row 2 with Sergio Macias in fourth. Then it's Sergio Fernandez, P5, second in the championship. Matt Wood, third in the championship, right behind him. He'll be starting 6th. Adam Blocker, only good enough for 7th. And we know he's incredibly fast. Robert Olenek is 8th with Nicola Kochi starting 9th. Top 10 rounded out by Eduardo Prado.
All right, I'll take the rest of the field here. 21 cars today. Brandon Hawk and the Canadian going to start P11. 12th going to be Tommy Anhola. And then we'll go down to 13th here on row 7. David Rolfe next to Ove Trengerade. We'll go to row 8. Barry West, our buddy there, starting 15th today. Next to Pablo Lombarez Suarez in 16th. 17th, Marco Quila. And Stefan Schlacker, he'll start 18th in this one. Melina Mann is here today, and she'll start 19th next to Juha Norolampi. The preacher ran out of time, couldn't get a cue in. And then Max Kessler will start at the end of this field, 21st today in the number 21. So here we go, Joe. I'm excited for this one. Always love races at the Glen, buddy.
Same here. They tend to put on an exciting show, and apologies in advance if we accidentally slip up and call Marco Quila Marco Kika, as we're used to him over in the Lotus 49 series. But I could hear you maybe trying to keep your mouth from doing that.
I was looking carefully. Yes, I was pronunciating carefully there.
The lights are up here, Sean. The engines are revving. Green flag is out at the Glen, and Bycroft is off, but he's being chased by Friesche to the outside, who got a good start, but not quite a good enough one. He's good on the brakes down into turn 1, but he has to slot into line. Everybody else mostly too wide through the 90 and safe out of it.
Already starting to get line astern up here through the S's.
You can see the power of the draft as the cars start to reel each other in. In fact, Gernot is already looking for the lead, swinging to the inside of Bycroft. He gets by that Williams, but he starts to stall out. They're going to go too wide into the carousel. Around the outside, using that banking to good effect. Bycroft holds onto it, but it's a battle for third behind them. That's Frazier with Macias up the inside into the chute, and I think he's going to get it finally coming out of there. Down into the... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just a gaggle of cars still at the back of the field. They're still really stacked up back there, Joe.
Macias Frazier loses out to Macias, who is back into fourth behind them. A little bit of a tussle between Wood and Fernandez. Wood comes out on top and moves himself into P5. Blocker eyeing that battle just behind them. Oh, is a pass in front of them as well as Macias now being overtaken by Frazier. It is frantic here at the top of the mid-pack. They're going to go too wide through the penultimate turn. That is very scary to do, and they're still hanging it out too wide through the final turn as Adam Frazier around the outside takes it in a drag race down to the front to the first turn.
Well, boy, careful. They're going to try and go too wide through here.
And look at how much that checked them up. That was Macias, yeah, into wood, and that has caused a real chain reaction behind him, Sean.
It sure has. Blocker trying to skate his way through here, up through the S's. Now everybody can breathe just a moment here on the straightaway.
I don't know if they can even breathe now because look at them fan out. Oh, and a big duck to the inside. I think that was Fernandez.
It was.
Sergio trying to go by Blocker through the inside of the outer loop. He's got it done, and still they are jockeying for position. This is the craziest start I've seen in a while in the Lotus 79s here.
I think we got some drivers here, Joe, that maybe didn't have their best qualifying effort and have got everything invested in a race pace right now. And this battle between Hawken and Prado back here for P9 is, man, they're just all over each other.
Don't forget, they've got Nicola Kochi in there as well. In fact, they got the train of cars really essentially goes all the way back to Barry West, who is second to last and 20th. Nobody's been able to get away from each other. The only two that have split, unfortunately, are Bycroft and Gernot, who have left this top group behind.
They have, and Bycroft still showing that speed he had a couple of hours ago. Gernot got a great start, but still a second off pace behind him.
There you can see the Williams of Bycroft about a second ahead currently. And that's good news for him, trying to break that slipstream, which certainly hasn't been broken back for third place. Macias holding back there as we ride on board with Adam Frazier giving chase, but this time it's a little calmer for once.
Yeah, Macias moved over in the line there, tried to break the draft just a bit. Frazier coming a little bit around a different line there through the carousel, maybe look for an advantage here.
Yeah, I'm curious, John, is it a bit like oval racing around that turn where you kind of have to find some air and go offline with the downforce in these cars?
Yeah, that's a great description, Joe. That's exactly what you have to do. You also have to make sure that, you know, when you're braking, that you don't brake so much that you can't carry that speed through there. So what an amazing job with these guys of getting single file, but just respecting each other's space, real estate. So this is awesome.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I said, this is pretty frantic as we watch Brandon Hawken down here having a nice little fight as they come into the penultimate turn. It's Rob Olenek that he's fighting with. Olenek with a bad exit off of the final corner, though. And Nicola Kochi's spying that, seeing if he could maybe get a run, but not enough of one. They break into the 90, stays in line, looks for the shoot off the corner, and he gets a fantastic one. Oh, that door almost closed on him. Meanwhile, third place looking to change hands. It is Macias leading Frazier, but up the inside, here comes Matt Wood. The driver aspiring for a championship, just missed out last season, and he aspires for third, but not enough because he backs out back into fifth.
Yeah, it's a good tussle here. Wood, Frazier, Macias. And don't forget about Sergio Fernandez just behind them there. Blocker still tracking this battle, too. I wouldn't give up on him quite yet.
Sorry, Juha Noralampi had a big off, and I think he managed to avoid the wall, but I don't know how because it was in the chute. No, he did not manage to avoid it. He actually went into the wall.
Yeah, he goes right into that tire barrier. You're going to see it here on the replay on board with Juha Noralampi, the preacher, coming down here into the chute.
Yeah, and he's thinking about an outside move, but there's no grip out there. Just clatters the tires.
Hey, guys, I tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Wood Wood just had a tremendous save in the toe. Obviously, he lost a position getting back into 6th, but keep an eye on Blocker. I'm watching him. He doesn't have the straight line speed, but what he does have is the exit out speed, and that's what's getting him up closer to these guys, you know, here in the top 7.
Right on board with Adam, currently running in P7. Up ahead of them, you can see at the front of the train of cars, it looks like Macias under threat from Frazier momentarily, but Frazier almost looked like he backed off. And Sean, there's no real fuel saving to take account for in these cars, so I'm not sure why he would back off.
I could be playing it safe. I talked about it in the pre-race, Joe. I mean, this one's a bit of a marathon at 28 laps. I'm going to be honest with you. It seems like you're better off to be a little patient. You've got a long way to go. It's not one on lap 5. Not this one. Not today. Frazier looks awful good. He knows he's following a great driver, so maybe that's the best line to stay in, is the one behind the guy that's really wheeling it hard right now.
Carrying him along, giving him a little bit better lap times. Again, does not make a pass as they work their way into and out of the heel of the boot. They have pulled a little bit of distance between themselves and 5th place Sergio Fernandez, who's trying to run them down. There you see him and the Essex machine just ahead of the Parmalat Brabham of Matt Wood. Ooh, but this time it looks like Frazier is much closer to Macias down the front stretch, and once again he lifts. He had a phenomenal run out of that final corner and did nothing with it.
Yeah, I think he's good, man. I think he's cool right where he is. That's going to be my guess right now. He's just happy to have the speed to hang with Macias.
It's worth noting.
Go ahead.
It's worth noting that the temperature's gone up. It's 111 degrees on track. Now, the drivers always tell us that these tires don't necessarily go away, or at least you don't need to come in and get tires when they run these things on ovals even, which I would think are much more it's action down in 14th.
3 wide into the carousel. Yeah, it was 3 wide in the carousel. Rolf, Trengrade, Keela all having a big battle here.
That's Keela at the back of them in the red machine. Trengrade in the white car chasing David Rolf. He manages to come out on top in that 3-way fight as they come out of the toe of the boot. Yeah, just out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden I saw my time and scoring going crazy. I saw you had mentioned something in our chat about P14. And my goodness, these guys are fighting hard in the back of the pack.
They really are. Yeah, and they have been since the drop of the green, Joe. It's been a great battle back here. Quick update on Juha Norolampi. He pit the car, and unfortunately the damage must have been too much. He's left the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, been something of a bad day for the Preacher, unfortunately. As we watch this battle for 3rd place, still being led by Macias. They had a gap before, but no longer. Sergio Fernandez has now closed it in. Is he as patient as Frazier? We're going to get the answer here because he's got to run. The answer's no. He looks to the inside, and he's going to go fully past by the time they hit the carousel. Moves Sergio up to P4. Sergio Fernandez behind Sergio Macias, but only temporarily. Going deep on the brakes around the outside. Adam Frazier doing exactly as John mentioned, not braking as hard and using it to great effect. Look at that. He regains the spot.
Some solid driving by Adam Frazier right there.
Frazier does not go down. He is determined to hold on to this 4th place. But the thing is, he really wants 4th place. He doesn't want 3rd. He just wants to sit behind Sergio Macias.
Yeah, I'm thinking with the collar getting a little tighter there, I think maybe it might be time to make a move and try and get around Macias here. As you see him looking for a fast line, he's going to take a move on him.
He was given the space, but he just couldn't quite get the car in there. Macias left about a car's width to the apex, and now he comes down to the racing line. I think you're right. Frazier, now that he's under threat from behind, has decided it is time to go. Let's see what he does down the front stretch. He knows there's a good draft on the back stretch, so I'm not sure that we'll see it here. Indeed, He pokes his nose out only temporarily and then comes back to the gearbox of Macias.
Yeah, guys, Frazier has an extremely fast closing rate on Macias right now.
Didn't look like he got a good run this time, because here comes Fernandez. This time he's going around the outside as Frazier went defensive, but he's a lot farther ahead. And indeed, Matt Wood even got close to maybe thinking about a position. So this time Fernandez gets up into P4 solidly and does not hand it back.
We got to spin. Pablo Suarez trouble in the carousel.
And Keela and Trangerade were involved as well. That all started with Pablo Suarez just sending it a little bit too deep, and the car did not stick.
Well, there are 4 of them right here, all heading into the carousel at full speed, Joe. And you see Pablo, the rear end, step out on that car.
And then the 2 that you're going to see, unfortunately, lose it behind him. I'm not sure if they were caught out or if this was... No, they were actually. There was contact. It was Ove Trangerade who was on the inside, just couldn't avoid. That sent him spinning into Keela.
You're going to see Pablo's car flip back to the left there, and it clips Ove as he's coming by. Hard hit for Ove, who had been moving up, too. That's a shame.
Yeah, it was just perfectly wrong timing for Trangerade. See, all 3 cars have had to take it to the pits. So here's our leader, the Williams of Steve Bycroft, up at the front, and he is pulled away from Gernot. Once again, the number 1 car just does not have it underneath him. He's 2 seconds back, but they've extended the gap behind them. It is 7 seconds to Sergio Macias.
I sure hope we get a chance to talk to Steve Bycroft, because I know what we should ask him. What's your favorite track on the iRacing service, Steve?
We got a big battle between Frazier and Wood, and this is for 5th place. Wood's going to try to use the outside of the chute. They've been side by side since the carousel. Wood carries the speed off the corner. He retains P5. Frazier slots back now into 6th as he continues to drop. Oh, what a big bobble off of the toe.
Yeah, a bit of a bobble there from Adam. The shenanigans in front of them, too. I mean, they got a great battle right in front of them with Macias and Fernandez really starting to kind of go at it a bit.
Oh, no, and Eduardo Prado is the next victim. This time, there might have been ghost contact between him and Rolf, actually. You're going to see it in the toe of the boot.
Yeah, that I saw a lot of space there. Yeah.
And unless he actually just lost the car on himself, it looked like it started to spin due to some phantom contact.
Yeah, we're going to encourage Eduardo to go back and look at his replay on that one.
Yeah, I could see the right rear of the car lift up a little, so I'd say that unfortunately the internet was not playing nice with him today.
Yeah, guys, I'm over here in Prado over the radio, and he's not too happy with David right now, but I think, like you said, if he goes back and looks at the replay, I think that's just a glitch.
Meanwhile, on screen, we're watching Sergio Fernandez battle Sergio Macias. This is the battle of the Sergios. And this is for a podium position, Sean.
I wonder if they'll maybe grab a pizza after the race. I'm sorry. So bad. I will say this, Iberian's known for making great pizza. I've known some Iberians who can really handle themselves in an Italian kitchen.
I haven't had breakfast yet, so you're making me hungry.
Sorry.
Here, so we watch Macias in the red and white machine lead the blue and red of Fernandez behind him. It certainly seems like I think we're getting an explanation for Frazier's behavior before, Sean, because Frazier's been overtaken by multiple cars and fallen down the order. So he seemed like he would have been a little bit of a plug in the spigot if he was at the front of this group.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, the guys that have passed him are all great drivers, okay? They're no slouches in this Lotus 79. again, I think for Matt right now, it's just, for Adam, it's more about just trying to gain maximum points here and stay out of trouble, survive this race. We haven't even hit the halfway point yet. We've still got a few laps to go before we even get there.
And guys, just to bring up the halfway point, take a look at the times on our second place position right now. His lap times are actually decreasing. I know Steve Bycroft is setting a wonderful pace here, but the second place car right now, he's actually getting faster on this longer run. And I've got to tell you, that's really what you want.
I wonder, John, because we've the temperature's much higher now. It hasn't gone up since I last looked at it, but at the start of this session, it was at 102. I wonder if maybe Bycroft set his car up for the cooler conditions, you think?
It's possible. Or Granat had just a little bit less air pressure, waiting for those air pressures to build up. So that's really going to help him in the, in turn 9, that off-camber turn. And that seems to be where he's making up the most time.
Interesting discussion or revelations there from John. We'll go back to you if you notice any other changes in that battle. So we watch Bycroft work his way through another lap here. The battle up at the top is starting to settle down behind them for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And in fact, they're starting to drop Adam Blocker, which is saying something. Because we keep mentioning it, Adam Blocker is a fast driver. So for them to pull away from the number 8 car means that he's dealing with some wickedly fast drivers. Sean, looks like you found a battle down for 13th position, though.
Well, a battle, yes. Now, Pablo Suarez is trying to recover, obviously, from his spin back in the carousel. But I want to talk more about what Molina Mann has done and picking up 6 spots and now up in P13 trying to crack the top 10. Rob Olenek about 5.5 seconds up the track, but Molina's had a great run here so far, stayed out of trouble, avoid some of those incidents in front of her, and again has been rewarded with 6 positions in P13 and now has a fight. The mirror getting a little bit more occupied with Pablo Suarez's presence there. But Pablo dealing with only half a wing on that car. He goes to the inside. Going to try and pull this off up the straight.
It's a drag race to the heel of the boot. Suarez to the inside in the red and white machine. Can he get the job done? And he does. So wounded McLaren or not, Pablo is not going to be held back and gets into P13 with that move. Next on his list is going to be Rob Olenek. Now, wasn't Olenek also involved in that incident? Or did he manage to sneak through that? I'm trying to remember. Because I know he was close to triangulate.
Rob was involved in something I'm not remembering right now because Rob's lost 4 positions and I know that didn't happen by just pace of anybody in front of him. I honestly think I just can't remember what it was right now.
We'll have to check our notes on that in a bit. Meanwhile, we've jumped back up to Sergio Fernandez, who's being hounded by Matt Wood. But Wood had a run and decided not to take it on the backstretch. He hung out in the slipstream just behind Sergio. And again, Wood's main fight here is with both Sergio Fernandez and Gernot Friesche, who's way up the road currently. So even though he probably can't catch the number 1 car, he could try and overtake the number 11 to see if he could get closer and probably overtake him on points since there's only 1 separating them. Heading on board now with Macias, looking back at the train of 3 behind him. We're going to hit the halfway point, I believe, next time by. No, this time. There we go. Just ticked over to 14.
And was I kidding about the endurance factor? I just want to say it again. I mean, we've seen some attrition in this race, and some of the names are shocking to see that they're not still in this race.
Yeah,
we're only halfway.
Nora Lompy, yeah, that is. Oof.
poor Barry West all the way at the end of this field right now, back there in 16.
Yeah, but that's kind of how we've seen Barry West. Meanwhile, up at the front, a little poke to the inside from Fernandez on Macias. Nothing doing into the carousel. A little bit of a slide on the entry into the chute from Macias. That cost him some time. Fernandez smells blood in the water, comes back to the race line, doesn't try and send one in down into the toe of the boot. Stays right under that gearbox, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The battle right behind them. I mean, it's this 4 cars right here. Really, one of our bigger stories of the race right now is we're at the halfway point here.
Well, what I find crazy, Sean, is you look at the first 3 laps of this race and how much they were swapping back and forth, and then you compare that to now. It's like you've got 4 different drivers between those 2 scenarios.
Right.
As I say that, a little bit of action down into 1. That was Wood trying something on Fernandez, and I think he's got the shot off the corner, but he does not have the space once they hit the S's.
Kind of shut the door on him there once he got back to the track.
Wow, the clouds suddenly came in, and the sun went away. It has it was predicted to be mostly cloudy, but we've had pretty sunny conditions for the majority of this race. Now suddenly the clouds come back. Wonder if this will start to cool it down, and maybe we'll see things switch back again between Bycroft and Freesia.
Remember, we're near a lake, so things can change quickly.
True. I went to school in Toledo. I know about the lake effect. Ooh, defensive from Fernandez down into the toe of the boot, and Wood a little bit wide on entry, but squares off the corner, looks to get himself a run, and he gets a great one. Another defensive move from Fernandez forces Wood to back out of it.
Guys, keep an eye on Sergio. He's those rear tires, I think, are used up. Right now he's in conservation mode, just trying to hold on to that position.
Which Sergio are we talking about?
Oh, Sergio, sorry, P3.
Okay, come on, yes. I keep having to make sure that I say the last name of them as well. Bycroft not slowing down. In fact, set the fastest lap of the race, and curiously, right when the clouds come in again. So, I wonder about that theory of the setups between Bycroft and Freesia.
Bycroft's just on another level right now than everybody else here at the Glen. I'm sorry. It's just, this is the second time I've seen this, and there's no other explanation for it other than he's got the right setup, he's got the right mindset, and obviously the talent here at the Glen to pull this off.
Big run from Sergio Fernandez. Big enough run that he's going to try and get that nose in down into the carousel. But Macias is going to hold the outside successfully enough that he can fend off Fernandez this time. One thing we haven't mentioned, though, is even though it's not his home state, for Bycroft, this will be a home win. This is a U.S. track compared to us being in the U.K. and Brazil in the previous 2 rounds. So this will mean something for the number 7 if he can come away with the win.
You're looking at the lap comparisons there between Bycroft and Gernot over the last 5 laps.
And yeah, as soon as the sun came out, he suddenly became faster. Or no, Freesia became faster, actually.
Well, yeah, Gernot had a good lap there on 15 on that graphic, so even Gernot picked up a little speed under the clouds.
Yeah, so he's kept that down at about 3.5 seconds. There you see the Renault, and the sun comes back out. Only went down to about 110 degrees on the surface. Battle for third remains the one to watch. We cannot get away from it. And if you're just joining us, that's Macias you see in the red car in third place. Fourth is Sergio Fernandez in the red and blue. Then the blue and white machine is Matt Wood in P5, and sixth behind him is Adam Frazier. Another look to the inside and a repeat of what we saw last time. Fernandez can't quite make it work.
Yeah, and it looks like everybody's just...
Oh!
boy.
Big slide from first Macias and then from Fernandez trying to stay out of him. Both of the drivers catch it. This elicits a chain reaction. Matt Wood almost had an opportunity, but he also can't do anything with it. And I think they've settled down. Do we have the opportunity to watch an onboard from Fernandez? Because my God. We actually saw the onboard live. Excuse me. I was watching my screen, didn't see the directors. Oh, and he's struggling now.
Watch out. Here comes Matt. To the inside. Nope. He's going to back out of it. No, he's pressing hard here.
Matt's been waiting patiently, and he sees a chance. Oh, so does Frazier. Frazier nearly gets into the gearbox of Matt Wood, but somehow keeps from running into him. And all this fighting is great news for Macias, who pulls a gap of nearly a second. Can he break the draft this time? A spin from Fernandez ends his race in an instant.
Oh,
no.
I think back to the throttle a little bit too much there on top of the curb.
Boy, you were talking about Macias destroying his tires, John. It looked like that slide and save that Fernandez did really hurt him, because after that, it looked like he never fully had control of the car.
Yeah, I think, though, in turn one coming out there, he just got high center on that top curb and like Sean said, got on the gas. But I'm sure his emotions weren't in check from that previous slide going into the heel.
And on screen, just as we come back live, Frazier tries once again something on Matt Wood that does not come off. Wood has very much lost the draft to Macias, but probably grateful that he narrowly avoided the incident unfolding in front of him. We saw the onboard of the replay where Wood had inches to spare to Fernandez. Now that that's split up, let's jump back in the mid-pack. Brandon Hawken, I think, deserves a little bit more attention, going from 11th to now 7th, with Fernandez falling by the wayside. He gains one more spot. He's been trying to chase Adam Blocker, but he's lost touch. That means that it's Nicola Cocci instead in his mirrors that takes most of his focus.
Yeah, there really haven't been many battles in the middle of the pack until just now. And I'm wondering if maybe that incident kind of brought things a little bit closer together as cars kind of maybe checked up a little bit, tried to steer clear of what was going on in front of them. But now we've got Hawken and Cocci starting to gain some serious ground here. Opportunity coming up the straight.
And no surprises that Cocci driving a Ferrari, one of the more upbeat and fun interviews that we tend to have. Nicola, familiar here on the GSRC, as he gets a little wiggly coming into the carousel, but he gathers the car back up.
Yeah, Joe, this is a time of the race where you got to be careful and don't downshift in the entry of a corner, and I think that's what we just saw of Cocci.
Down to 10 laps to go. He's still holding behind Hawken, but is not really threatening quite yet. Just staying in the tire tracks, waiting for a mistake, waiting maybe for a little bit of pace to come his way in comparison to Brandon. They look a little equally matched, these three, Sean, because even though Blocker is about 1.2 ahead of them, he's also not necessarily pulling away.
No, it really hasn't. Their lap times are really super close. Hawken actually the fastest of those three there on the last lap.
On screen, you see the battle between Frazier and Wood. And Frazier hailing from the Virginias, an American driver, trying to catch the UK&I racer up ahead of him. Their hopes of a podium starting to slip away because now that they've lost the draft, Macias a whole 1.7 seconds ahead of Wood. Good news for Wood is that incident for Fernandez means that he's going to gain a lot of points and will definitely at least move up into second place. In the championship, I should clarify. Right.
They've been at each other for quite a while too. This is not a new battle. They've been hooked up. You know, they of course were riding behind the battle of the two Sergios and fortunately got through without any trouble of their own. But this has been really, really fun to watch.
I'd say so, and probably our best battle on the track at this point, other than the one for P7, but we'll break in if that gets closer between them through the final corner. Frazier looks really strong in the braking zones, though, but off the corner, you could see him start to lose that time again. Wow, that onboard really illustrates it right there. He closes tremendously under braking. Back onto the backstretch once more. Frazier not gaining in a straight line.
Oh, P7, here we go. Hawken maybe losing this spot to Nicola Kochi. Got a good run up through the S's into the carousel. Ooh, Hawken holding it down.
Fascinating how that outside line has worked very well on defense. I wonder if a number of drivers have started taking note and using that. Hawken fends off Kochi and retains P7. Kochi's not done with him. They come through the toe of the boot. Can he get the squared off corner to work for him? Oh, it washes out a little bit. I don't think Kochi's going to have anything in the heel.
I think Kochi knows he can have this spot and even maybe have that spot from Adam Blocker if he can get around. Dad thought he had it worked out there going into the carousel. It's going to get another run at it here. Come up to the corner.
Sorry, did we have an issue with Sergio Macias? Because I'm suddenly seeing Matt Wood only 7/10 back. And look, he's trying to break the draft now. Macias knows that something has gone wrong. Or that he's been caught at least.
I think they just ran him down. I went back a little bit. Didn't see any real issues there, Joe.
Wow. Well, that is an incredible drive from Matt Wood then to pick up the pace and literally reel him in. Let's see if he can go the rest of the way and actually pass him to get on the podium, though.
Kochi back here taking another look. He's got the inside of the carousel, Joe.
Yeah, but this doing the same thing elicits the same response, unfortunately. He's going to have to get that car to the outside and get a little bit of a nose ahead, I think. Stays right with the number 5. He gets close to the back of him mid-corner. Almost looked like that caused him to have to check up, but he's a little closer this time than we've seen previously. Nothing doing quite yet. Down to 6 laps to go. We're not missing anything up at the front. It is nearly 5 seconds from P1 to P2. There you can see the timing on screen. Gernot just continuing to slip backwards.
And again, that's pretty much the same story we had a couple hours ago. I think it's setup and driver, but maybe just a little bit more setup here at Watkins Glen.
Could be on the backstretch as we watch Matt Wood try to continue to pull Macias back into him, and he's not going to be close enough this time. Meanwhile, Hawken on the outside once again. Oh, they come together. Hawken into the wall, and Kochi follows them. A good battle ends up in disappointment. That's going to give Unholo the spot for both of them.
Who's that coming through? That was poor David Roth comes up on that as they're both trying to get back on track. Let's go to the replay.
Hawkins trying to take it back to the pits as we watch the replay. I'm not sure that it's really worth it because he's got no time to get that car repaired as damaged as it looks.
Coachy was determined to keep it in there as we'll go above and look at this from up top. But two by two through the carousel, fighting for the same bit of real estate. And boy, if you don't get that car slowed down enough there in the carousel, especially when you're on the bottom, you will drift up exactly like that. And both of them, race ended. What a great battle they had going for most of this race.
The bad news for Hawkins is that he got the worst of it because Coachy's able to continue, although he's fallen down to 9th, and I think he's going to lose out to Rob Olenek in a second as we watch this battle for 3rd continue. Down to the inside, Macias hasn't gotten the memo about taking the outside. Now he ducks back around. Doesn't matter, though, because Wood doesn't get beside him.
I don't think these drivers are going to finish in the spots they're currently in, Joe. Just a thought there, a random thought.
Guys, watch Wood going into 9 here, or more specifically coming out of 9.
Let's see if he's got any sort of advantage here. Even though he's very close to Macias, don't forget Frazier right behind him. Come up to the heel of the boot. Then turn 9, the corner that takes you back on to the main course. Off camber, blind, incredibly difficult. Once Matt got underneath him. It didn't look like he gained much on Macias that time around.
Yeah, I don't want to put out the Sean curse, but I think Frazier's got a perfect seat here to maybe pick up on something of between Wood and the 3rd place car.
Is the commentator's curse, Johnny.
I can see this becoming a thing now. As 4 to go. That Wood not quite close enough. Oh, and what happened to Wolf? Roth, excuse me.
David Roth, yeah, trouble for him, Joe.
That car is just walking sideways. Wow.
He lost it in the final corner and
It's just
had a very sudden stop. Well, that is a shame. He was running well, but he's not going to be able to see the checkered flag. Sean, you talked about attrition. 13 out of 21 starters still running. That's pretty sparse.
It's about the same amount of attrition we had a couple hours ago. Again, it's just a punishing. You don't think of Watkins Glen as a punishing circuit, but it really is, and I don't think we can understate that enough. We've seen what's happened to a strength of field. Over 4,000 drivers with higher I ratings than 4,000 succumb to this beast that is known as the Glen.
So we're right on board with Adam Frazier, the caboose of these 3. Yeah, one thing I think is worth pointing out to our viewers, they may have noticed that this is not the version that we have currently in the real world with lots of paved runoff. This is essentially an old school type Watkins Glen where you've got a lot of grass and then barrier right there at the edge of the track in most places. If you lose it, you're going into metal in a hurry.
I still don't think that these 3 are going to finish in these positions. This is a mad scribble. They're going to have 2 to go when they hit the line.
Well, for as much as Wood ran down Macias and did so relatively quickly, I'd say, he's kind of been stuck back here. It seems like he can't really get by.
Well, I think Macias is doing a good job of trying to confuse him, to be really honest. Macias moving all over the track, still is, and boy, it gets really tight here.
He's using the Simon Pagino?
I think so, yes, exactly.
Well, hopefully he can continue to break that draft. 3 laps to go, which is going to be 2 in just a few seconds. We come back to the main circuit once again. This is the corner that John is saying Wood is strongest at. Looks pretty decent this time. He holds right behind Macias despite the wake of the car ahead. He's got to stay with him all the way down through the 90, though. That's the critical corner.
obviously with 2 to go. He ain't going to get a whole lot, many more cracks at this.
Ooh, he's close. He's close. I think this is the closest we've seen him be in a while. So what's he going to do? Matt Wood hanging out just behind the rear wing of Macias. He's got a good run. Macias decides to cover the inside. Wood doesn't quite gain the time that he needs. He still looks to the outside. Oh, and
Guys,
he
we
tries
haven't
to...
seen anyone do this. On the outside, he did it. On the outside.
Oh my goodness, this is going to give him the inside because it's not over yet. Down into the chute, Macias, who now loses 2 positions in 2 corners. Frazier sneaks through. He covers off the inside, down into the toe of the boot. Beautiful job both by Matt Wood and then Frazier to take advantage of that moment. Sean, you said they wouldn't be in the same positions, and right now, none of those 3 are where they were at the start of this lap.
And Macias is not giving up. He's got to be really hot right now.
White flag is out for Steve Bycroft. 1 more lap to go, and he has to lead him home. We need to go back to Adam Frazier because he had a little bit of a bobble coming out of turn 9. That's lost him ground to Wood, but Macias was not able to get through, and now he's dropping off as well.
I think they broke his spirit. I honestly think they broke his spirit, man.
I wonder if Wood was playing possum this entire time. What a move.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. He may have had that move in him the whole time. Knew he couldn't go catch Frazier or Bycroft, but he knew he could get that spot.
Just held onto his cards and played him at the right time. Oh, as we got this battle back into the carousel, Macias tries to pull the same thing, but it doesn't work on Frazier. Let's go back to our leader. Steve didn't have the cameras on him. I'm not sure that he minded today. This has been a walk in the park for the Williams. Managed the gap, kept it at just about 5 seconds for the latter half of this thing. You can barely see the Renault in the background of our camera shots as Steve Bycroft comes out of the final corner. It is going to be an American winning here in the U.S. at Watkins Glen. Victory for Bycroft.
And a good P2 for Gernot Frisch.
Matt Wood somehow comes through from 6 on the grid, waiting strategically to take a late race move, and he's going to finish on the podium. Doesn't get points over Frisch, but he is going to get points over Fernandez. Meanwhile, 9th place is Suarez leading Kochi and Molina Mann, all fighting for this position.
Molina with one last shot here to get a P10.
And that's not going to help. Going a little close to the back of Kochi. Remember, Kochi's got damage, though. If it's enough that it'll offer Molina a shot off the final corner. Does he have the straight line speed? He's going to try for it. He gets a run. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's going to be awful close and just barely. Molina Mann takes 10th away with inches to spare.
Wow, what a great run for Molina Mann. 9 spots. Gets a P10. That's good stuff.
That's going to close things out for the race itself, but not for our show. Stick around because you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Afterwards, you'll catch the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. We watched round 3 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, and we had a homeboy win today. It was Steve Bycroft, the Hoosier, came over to New York, but it's an American track and an American victor here to take the win impressively over Gernot Frische, who finishes in second place. We don't often see drivers who are faster than Gernot, especially not typically Steve. Matt Wood pulled a brilliant move with 2 laps to go to take third place away from both Adam Frazier, who finished 4th, and Sergio Macias, who fell all the way down to 5th. Sean's prediction came true. Adam Blocker finishes P6 with Tommy Unhola. We didn't really watch him much, but he kind of calmly and quietly moved from 12th to 7th. Olenek eventually recovered after his problems back to where he started in 8th place with Pablo Suarez in 9th. Molina Mann, we did check in from time to time, qualified 19th and used the attrition to his advantage, taking P10. The next 10, Nicola Kochi finishing in 11th. He finished with a lot of damage on that car, unfortunately. And Stefan Schlacher, last car on the lead lap. Not a bad job going from 18th to 12th. Then Barry West, a little bit out of his depth today in terms of pace. He was the first car lap down in 13th. David Rofe, unfortunately, a DNF 14th for him. Same for Hawken in 15th. This is all cars that didn't make it to the end. Fernandez 16th, Prado 17th, Trangerade 18th, Kayla 19th, Kessler 20th, and Norlampi, the first driver to DNF today in 21st. And I believe we've got second place ready to talk to us, Gernot Frische. We got to ask Gernot, this is probably one of the few times we see you outpaced by somebody out on track. Were you just not happy with setup? Is this not a favorite track of yours? What happened?
Hi, Joe. I think none of that, actually. I have to say I'm quite happy with that second place because the grid today was super tough. There were a lot of really strong drivers, and yeah, I don't think I was bad. It's just that Steve was ahead of the rest of the field today. So huge congrats to him. He's been on pace really for a long time now, and yeah, he really deserved that win today.
One of the curious things we did notice is that when the session started, it wasn't a cool track necessarily, but it was just over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when the sun suddenly came out and decided to stay out for much of the race, it jumped about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Did that catch you off guard at all? Did it throw a curveball into what setup you chose to put onto it?
No, not really. No one really told me that during the race, so I didn't even realize that the temperature was changing that much.
So just running unawares and ran the race that was given to you. Still second place, not bad. This will allow you to hold on to the points leads here after round 3. Next time, though, we're going to Road Atlanta. Do you usually fare well there?
Usually, yes. It's a really challenging track. Yeah, it's really exciting to race. It's not a long track, but it has lots of blind corners, difficult corners, and also provides good racing due to the long straight. So I'm looking forward to that.
We look forward to it as well. Thanks for talking to us. That was Gernot Frische finishing second today on the podium. Driver off the podium, but still climbed a number of positions. John has caught up with Tommy Unhola.
Tommy finishing 7th today, up 5 spots. Finland driver. How do you feel, sir? Could you tell us how the race went for you?
Yeah, race was pretty good. I got a pretty good start, and it was really fun on opening laps to battle with guys. And I'm not sure if I had right tire pressures as sorry. Car was pretty hard to drive, and especially when it was a bit cloudy, and it was better on hotter track, but it was interesting and fun to drive.
You know, we were talking about during the broadcast about tire pressures. Tommy, what did you feel the car needed, more or less?
Well, I'm not actually sure. I got to look where they did go, but I'm having 134 on the left and 138 on the right. So Others can know if that's a lot or not. I think some guys run with different pressures, but that was my starting, and it ran maybe a bit too hot on some places, but I'm not sure if I'm happy with setup, so it was kind of hard race as I'm not so good or experienced on this track, so
Well, you did an amazing job, Tommy. Again, coming up 5 spots, finishing 7th. Anybody you like to thank?
well, I wanna thank Rob for great battle on lap 8. I think we went pretty much all laps side by side, and it was fun. And of course, you guys for broadcasts and everyone racing. It was fun again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's your 7th place finisher, Tommy Unhola. Job, who do you have?
Real quick, we're going to talk to Stefan Schlacker, who finished 12th today, even though he started 18th. But one thing we didn't get to cover, Stefan, since there was so much action at the front, you had something of a recovery drive, it looked like, in the action at first until it kind of went wrong for you.
Yeah, first I had a little bit of an incident while being side by side with Ove into turn 1. Downshifting a little bit too early. I don't know if you caught that. Somehow miraculously was able to shoot a gap between Ove and I think that was Pablo behind. And then, yeah, coming back, somehow didn't have any damage from that. Coming back, I came together once again with Barry, who was a little bit slower on the outside than I was thinking he will be. And yeah, then just keep swimming, just do your stuff, and somehow gain positions there because other people started to lose their cars.
Yeah, definitely a Dory Award. Did you expect attrition to come into play? Because in our show, Sean was very much harping on it, and he was absolutely right that a lot of cars went by the wayside. So, I mean, did you kind of have that mindset of just keep the car safe and the positions will come to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I also had myself included into that attrition. So a little bit surprised I actually managed to survive this race. But I would still say it was a little bit of a waste today because pretty sure I had better speed. Like at one point I was keeping up with the speed of the top 5 until I had that incident with Barry. Then I was a little bit off pace because I just said, just keep swimming, just do your stuff, and you might be able to gain some positions, which happened. But yeah, not the best race, but also not a really bad one either.
I feel you there. I've had plenty of those myself. Well, commiserations, it wasn't as good as you wanted, but I guess at least it was satisfactory, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And the car was always good. So thanks to Steve Bycroft for putting his setup into the forum.
That was incredibly kind of Steve and shows, I guess, the driver counts for something considering what Steve did with that one. That was Stefan Schlacker, who finished 12th today. And that's going to wrap us up with interviews. So let's give a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And also to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie, as well to John for coming in and giving us some extra info on the side. That was hugely helpful. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media, where you can find us on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page if you're not there already and hit the big red button that says subscribe so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, in a week's time, we're going out to Road Atlanta. That'll be July 7th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.